What do you believe about selling? Better yet, what do you reject about selling? Today's guest isn't just challenging the traditional sales playbook. He's totally rewriting it. I'm talking with Ari Galper, the world's #1 authority on trust-based selling. Now, I've heard a lot of experts talk about relationship selling, but Ari, he rejects that. See, he believes the world is in a trust recession, and Ari helps you build that trust quickly. That's a skill that every coach, consultant, and service professional needs, especially as you leverage targeted podcast interviews to grow your brand and your business. We're diving into why old school sales funnels is broken and how you can replace it with what Ari calls the sales cylinder. You'll learn how to stop chasing prospects, start diagnosing problems, just like a trusted doctor. And most importantly, how to build trust that leads to results. This isn't hype or high pressure tactics. It's about connecting deeply through conversations like the ones you have on podcasts and turning listeners into high quality leads that trust you and your team. So if you're tired of playing the numbers game and want to learn how to get real results from podcast interviews, stick around. This episode is a game changer. One of the things that always stands out to me is not what people believe. It's actually what they reject. And today I've got someone that changed my view on selling, right? Ari Galper is the world's #1 authority on trust-based selling. You're going to learn things here today. And I guess, Ari, the first thing that, we had the discussion, that was probably 5 or 6 months ago. And you said, we are in a trust recession. And I never thought about it that way. Can you unpack that a little bit?
Sure. The term trust recession comes from the concept that we are now living in what I call a commoditized world. What that means is our services, our offers are all very similar, and your potential clients are shopping you because they can find information online and see your profile on LinkedIn. They know what you do. Unless your product's so unique, which is rare these days, they'll be shopping you against somebody else. And when they shop you, they're looking for information from you for free in their shopping quest. And then as a result of that, we end up doing what I call free consulting, where we provide them information, give them free value, and then they want to go think about it. And the last step of the process is we end up chasing them. That loop is called a trust recession that we are now stuck in, especially for companies or businesses that are in a low volume, high margin business.
Well, and that trust recession and that loop, that sounds painful for the client or the prospect and the company, right? And one of the things when we were talking, you're like, early on, you said, I disagree or I reject the idea of a sales funnel. And that was like blasphemy. It's like, but everybody knows we're just one funnel away, right? So how do you view that? And what problems do you have with the idea of this sales funnel?
Okay, sure. Well, look, a sales funnel made a lot of sense pre-COVID because the world was different then. But now it doesn't apply, and here's why. Unless you want to play the numbers game, which is fine. But here's the thing. The sales funnel looks like that with your hands, right? Big wide opening out the top. The goal of that is to put what inside from the top? As much as you can. As much volume as possible. In the middle of the funnel, what do? You spend all your time qualifying, phone calls, rejections, chasing people. At the end of the process, at the bottom of the funnel comes a marble, a client. That just seems really highly inefficient. You spend all that time at the top and the middle to get the client at the bottom. So I'd rather create something called a sales cylinder, where it's narrow at the top and narrow at the bottom. You only put at the top your ideal clients. In the middle of that, you don't qualify them. You build trust with them. You don't sell them. You connect deeply with them to such an extent where they say to themselves, wow, I trust him. And then they become a client of yours because you're not selling anymore. You're trust building instead.
And when you describe that, it's like, it's not a sales cylinder. It's a sales sieve, right? We're going to put all of this stuff in the top and it doesn't come out the bottom. It's leaking everywhere, and it's the most inefficient thing. And I pull my hair out. When I get all these emails that say, do you want more leads? You want more leads? And I'm like, leads today seem like the Facebook likes of previous years, right? They don't affect your profit and loss statement. The bank doesn't impress by them, but at least Facebook lives or Facebook likes, they didn't cost you money, right? I see all these leads coming in and it's like, oh, okay. So just hire all these sales development reps, spend all this money on this automation so that you can get more in and just, like you say, play the inefficient numbers game to hopefully get something out at the bottom.
You're one funnel away from another funnel.
And the people that are are telling you the funnels, it's funny, they're selling you the funnels too. It's like, so, okay, let's talk about this. So I love the idea of the sales cylinder, right? But how do you build that trust along the way to keep them from leaking out like it's the sieve?
For sure. Okay, so what you do to keep them engaged in that process is you shift what I call a doctor-patient framework in your mind, where you are no longer selling anymore. Selling in itself is the problem that makes the funnel system so bad and efficient. So I'm saying something now, it's pretty contrarian. I'm saying to you, selling is bad. Stop selling altogether. Instead, learn how to do what I call trust building. When you go see a doctor, they don't say to you, hey, here's where I went to school. Here's what we do. I specialize in that area. These are my patients. Give them a call first before we talk to each other. No, they don't do any selling, do they? They diagnose and build deep empathy and trust with you. You don't even have to like them. You just have to trust them. And then they prescribe you a solution. Now, they don't dispense the medicine, okay? The pharmacist does that. But we often in sales mode do both. Ask questions, show ideas, show demos, become their best friend. We mix it all together, and that confuses the person because they think all you want to do is make that sale. So it requires a mindset shift away from selling instead to trust building.
When you're talking about a physician, is that more consultative? I guess would be what people talk about it. And as you said that, it's like, yeah, if a doctor sold me, I'd run for the hills.
Well, let's walk through the process to go see a doctor. First step is you call them, make an appointment, right? Next step number 2 is look at your calendar and you add a half an hour on each side in case of traffic. So you add an extra hour on each side because you never know traffic. Then you drive there. Step number 3 is you sit in the waiting room and you wait. And you wait. Now, do you invoice him for your time? Oh no, that's not how it works. You just have to wait. Then they call you in, you feel a sense of relief. And the first thing he says to you is, or she says to you is, essentially, where does it hurt? They don't try and build a rapport with you yet. Well, they might say hello, obviously, but they don't try to become your best friend, build a rapport with you, relationship building, how you heard about me, how's the weather outside. They don't work hard to create a social connection with you. So when they do that, then it's difficult for them to tell you the truth about your problem. So I'm talking about getting respect from people, not being liked from people in your process.
And that's key there. Respect, not just being liked. And as you said that, it made me think of something years ago. I was in medical device sales, and there was a young doctor in town that had gone to another hospital, and the hospital had bought him this great computer to use to do total knee surgery. And then you had old Dr. Comey, right? This guy had done more of them than ever. And you had the young doctor that was saying, I've got this, $500,000 computer that I can do. And I went to this school and went to that school. And I remember how Dr. Comey competed against that. He looked at it and he said, do you want a kid in a computer, or do you want somebody that has been doing this for 20 years and will not be surprised by anything? Boom. He got the respect. He got the business. And the other person, it was like commission breath. He wanted it too much, right? He was so excited by his product and his service. He wasn't focused on the problem. He was just trying to impress people.
Yeah. The key here is providing clarity on their problem, not impressing them with your solution.
Okay. So one of the things that you talk about is then, not following up with them afterwards. And that seems like blasphemy again in sales, right? Just following up, just checking in, right? And as I say that, I'm like, if I had the orthopedic surgeon just following up, just checking in, how's your knee feel? You want surgery yet? Oh, that destroys respect and trust. So how do you see that from the sales side? And explain that. What do you do instead of following up?
Well, first, I'm going to ask everyone on this call who's listening or watching to remove this word forever from your vocabulary and never use it again. It might hurt just a bit if you're in the sales game. I'm going to ask you never again as of today to use the word follow up for the rest of your life as of today. Don't write an email. Don't call somebody. And don't mention that word ever again. Why? Because it's a sales word. When you say I'm calling to follow up, what's going through their mind? They're thinking he wants to move me forward to his sale. That's momentum moving forward creates pressure on people. So replace that word with this one instead. I'm just giving you a call to see if you have any feedback on our previous conversation, any feedback on our last meeting, any feedback on the demo. See, feedback's not going forward. It's going backwards towards the problem again. Now, that's what you do right now to fix your current follow-up problem, okay? You'll get the truth a lot faster that way. Now, if you want to transform your whole business and how you approach people, our model is there is no chasing or follow-up at all because our process is so lockstep and engineered that people stay on the calendar every step of the way, like a doctor's office. Doctors don't chase patients. They're scheduled appointments. So you have to move your business model to what I call a by appointment only business.
Unpack that more for us. What does that look like? I can picture it from a doctor standpoint, right? You waited a month to get see the specialist, and now you're there. And if you think about it, you're going to be waiting months and months to actually get the relief. So what does that look like for a sales rep then?
What that means is, let's just assume you have at least an initial chat with someone, a conversation, okay, with an opportunity prospect. They're on Zoom or whatever, and you do a good job unpacking their problem, and you say, "Is this a priority for you?" They say, "Yes, it is," and then you walk them through your process, and they're pretty interested. And rather than saying at the end, or they say to you, "Great, give me a call a couple of weeks." And you're like, okay, great. I will do that. Sounds great. What a great meeting we had, right? Rather than letting them go, instead use what I call trust-based languaging as a bridge to move them on your calendar to a next step. And here's how you say it. End of the call, you say, I'm thinking if you'd be open to it, why don't we schedule a time on our calendars to meet up again next couple of weeks? Because you may have some questions for me. More questions. I may have some questions for you. And here's a key word. And we can brainstorm some new ideas together when we chat again. Would you be open to that? Now, if they say no to you, what does that tell you?
That they've just disqualified themselves, that they're not interested in the solution that you provided there. And I'd rather get a no than a maybe follow up with me next quarter.
Right. This is the way you filter out the ones who are real and the ones that are not real. The reason why we chase people is we don't know who's real. We don't know the truth. We just play the game with them because they told us we want to hear, and we assume we had a great meeting. It's called hopium. You know the hopium drug? You get so excited. We had a great meeting. Oh my God, they were all there. It was amazing. Oh yeah, they're so excited. And then, of course, hopium wears off and you feel terrible about yourself because here you are playing the numbers game, chasing ghosts.
It's that old sales joke, how was your day? Oh, I had 10 great calls. Yeah, I didn't sell anything either. So I love that idea of letting them, self-identify in there. And do you think the trust deficit is both ways? Because as you were saying that, there's some people that never want to tell you no, right? I'll think about it. I love what you're doing, but maybe next quarter, maybe next quarter. It's, I look at the dating thing, that person that doesn't want to tell you no, but man, it seems like they're always washing their hair every time I invite them out on a date.
The reason why they're not comfortable telling you the truth is because they don't trust you. Because you, somewhere along in your process, missed the ability to build trust with them. Now, I'm not talking about relationship building here, okay? Relationship building takes a long time to create trust. So our whole approach is to stop building relationships with people pre-sale. Only post-sale. You're going, what are you talking about? That's what my sales is about. It's relationship building. Well, if you want to spend a lot of time with them chasing them, sure, good luck to you, because real relationships take a lot of time. So if you remove relationship building and learn how to do trust building instead, which is a different skill set, they don't even have to like you to work with you. They just have to trust you. Like a doctor. I don't like my doctors. I'm not their best friend. We don't have coffee together, but somehow I agree to work with them.
And you don't pick them because they're the nicest person, right? They're incompetent, but boy, they are so nice. They're so friendly. We both we both failed out of the same school, right? No.
Chemistry no longer applies to trust building.
Do you think trust and respect are similar?
I think they're very much the same plane we're talking about here. But the idea of relationship building, fake rapport, them and you creating this connection with them is just a game they know already. And if they sense that from you from the beginning, they will hold back from you and not tell you the truth.
Do you see any differences in generations, right? Our generation, millennials or no, Generation X, right? Do you think that we've seen it all? And so we're more skeptical, or does even millennials and Gen Z, are they so tired of it that their filters are up and not trusting?
I think everyone's filters up nowadays. That's the trust recession. I don't care what age you are. Trust has been at the lowest point ever in a long time right now. Not just society-wise, but in business with new potential clients. So if they're shopping you and you're playing the sales game, that's a recipe for disaster on both sides.
So you say relationships take time, trust doesn't, right? And one of the things that people will talk about, I hate the term big ticket sales, right? Big ticket sales to one person is, small stuff to other things. But if you're not just doing a transaction, right? If you're selling B2B services or something like that, how do you get that trust? And you talk about the one call sale. And so many times people will say, well, do the discovery call, do the, it's like 3 calls. And it's like, I don't know that the client has time for it or the sales rep.
So I cover this in my book called Trust in a Split Second. But essentially you have one window of time to get the truth and build trust with somebody. And that is on the first conversation with them. The first call, the first meeting. The first meeting in their mind, they have to already decide they can trust you. I don't mean to sign contract. I mean, they feel like you're the one. They're judging you and hiring you on your process itself, not your solution. That's the meta step. What I realize is they don't really care about how you solve their problem. What they care about is, are you the one to solve it or not? So if your process is conveying anything that feels or sounds or smells like selling, it's over at hello. And you'll be stuck playing multiple steps, multiple meetings, and following up in the hopium mode, thinking it's all working out. Now, well, we've come up with a structure called the one call sale, like you mentioned. where a different way of thinking altogether, where it's more of a doctor-patient consultation. So I'll walk you through a little bit right now to get some example. Let's just say I get a lead from LinkedIn or a lead from somewhere, and they agree to initial, say, a Zoom meeting with you just to have an initial conversation, okay? They know what you do. It's not a surprise. They've seen your website or whatever. When they show up on Zoom like this, typically how it goes is, hey, nice to meet you. And how'd you hear about us? Or what brought you in today? Or here's the plan for today. We're going to have a discussion. All this sort of preamble stuff. So here's how our model works. It's doctor-patient concept. Starts with this. Obviously, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. Then we'll chit-chat from there. Then you start what I call top of the iceberg question. Trust-based questions only. Starts like this. You say this. If it's okay with you, Mike, if you wouldn't mind, take a step back for a moment. Walk me through your background, your situation, up to your current challenges you have right now with your business, and we'll go from there. Would that be okay with you? Take your fingers like this, put over your mouth, sit back like a doctor in your chair. This trains you, first of all, to stop doing what?
Selling.
Don't talk. It's hard. It's going to be so hard because we're so wired to engage. Do not engage. That's a sales behavior they know is fake. So you say, if it's okay with you, you wouldn't mind, take a step back for a moment, John, walk me through the situation and your current challenges around your IT situation. And we'll go from there. Would that be okay with you? This creates space where they see this call is not about you today. The ball's in their court. Start talking about themselves and their problem. And they will. They want to. They all want to. We don't let them because we're playing the game. Next thing you know, they start downloading on you. Well, we got this, we got that, we got this. As you're listening, your system will go, oh, we can fix this all day long. Heard this 100 times, nothing new here. That's the expert syndrome you have to be careful with because your job is not to solve the problem here. Your job is to listen, be patient. And when they're done talking, summarize and crystallize the core problem. So you say, what I hear from you is, your biggest concern is X, Y, and Z. Is that correct? Guy goes, exactly. Checkbox number 1. I think I can trust him because he heard me and he's not talking.
And and you feel understood, right? You're not surprised that, oh, wow, it's like the doctor that says, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. It's just like, you can take their 5 minutes of rants and you can boil it down into one sentence. Like, this guy knows me better than he understands the problem. So he must understand the solution.
What he's saying subconsciously is, this guy actually listens. He's not trying to sell me anything right now. I think I might like him. I think I might trust him. I don't know yet, but this is a good start.
As opposed to trying to solve the problem there or becoming the advice monster, as you said, that people just using it as free consulting.
Well, what usually happens is we ask a couple qualifying questions. We qualify them in our mind. We go, oh, perfect fit. Then that gives permission for us to start talking about what we do to help them solve the problem. And you mistrust because you didn't go down the iceberg. You just kind of with the top surface level communication and off you went to the races. And it's over right there. You lost them right there because you didn't have the process in place in the roadmap to actually have what I call trust-based questions to help them amplify their situation and give them clarity on the risk and the depths and the impact of their problem.
Ari, as we're talking trust-based selling, does it make a difference where the lead comes from, right? Does it make a difference if it's a cold email, I saw you on social media versus, hey, my business coach gave me a personal referral, or I heard you on a podcast interview. I already heard you for, 30 or 45 minutes. Does that impact it?
Well, obviously, if the source itself is erroneous or not good, then it's probably a not good lead. But if the source comes from a reasonable place, like a podcast or referral, then they're interested in what you have to say, or your solution. So yeah, the source itself necessarily doesn't have it's not the issue, as long as they're willing to schedule with you an initial consultation with the doctor. That's the key. Your whole business model should be, I think I said earlier, by appointment only. Well, the first step in your process is scheduling an initial consultation to discuss their problem, not your solution.
And that by appointment only sets you up in the expert positioning there of not the carnival barker that's desperate. And I've heard that referred to as desperation selling out there, right? I'll talk to anyone, just always on social media. It looks desperate.
Yeah. This is one level up above expertise because experts have been commoditized. Everyone's an expert. This is called authority positioning, where you're a trusted authority. It's a much higher level of thinking. We have a structure around your process. You're trust building only, and you're using trust-based languaging. This is how you have to operate to beat the trust recession.
How do you see podcast interviews and podcast appearances and speaking playing into this?
Those are great because they feed into your trusted authority positioning. Those are all important components of them having a sense of you and trusting you prior to your initial consultation. That's why I do it with you as well in your services, because when people come to me already, there's a level of respect and appreciation for how we operate.
Do you see there's a difference if they hear you on the podcast, right? You're the man they trust. And then all of a sudden when they come in, they're talking with someone else. How does that play out? Because I've always struggled with that.
Everyone always asks that question. I'm so dumbfounded by the fact that it's never been a problem here. In fact, I've got 5 coaches. I don't even take calls anymore, rarely, unless there's somebody really important. The calendar goes on their calendar, not mine. No one ever shows up and says, "Where's Ari?" They just want to have their problem solved by somebody in Ari's orbit.
And let's go back to your example there with a surgeon or a physician, right? And I'm going to go back to it. You go to the best physician there. You don't walk in and, get to see the surgeon. No, you're seeing a physician assistant. You're maybe seeing a junior doctor. That surgeon is there doing surgery, right? You may meet them for the first time when they do this, the surgery. And so, yeah, it's that same thing. If they've got enough time to take all their pre-op calls and meet with everybody, they're probably not an authority. They're not the expert. They're not the person that I want to do my surgery with.
Well, I've replicated myself. So they're not prepping the calls for me. The folks who are using my process, the one-call sale, are taking the phone conversation all the way to the end on their own and delivering the consulting coaching. So I've worked hard to scale our business by replicating myself based on the exact model we're talking about today. It's like having like a medical practice. My name's on the front door, but I'm out golfing. I don't show up. The other doctors handle the work.
Well, you're the evangelist out there, spreading the gospel on podcasts and other mediums there, trying to have a strong point of view and making people look at the world a whole lot different. So as we wrap up here, if you had one thing to tell people, the big takeaway, this big aha of what they should take action on, what would you say to them?
I'd say you have to ask yourself, are you willing to be challenged, your construct to be challenged, and to let go of what you think has been right all these years and be willing to shift to where the world's going? And I can tell you right now, trust is the new currency. If you're not focusing on trust training and coaching, and you're trying to make yourself a better salesperson, there's a rude awakening coming real soon. That's all I can say.
It's like you said, pre-COVID. I think there's a lot of people that are still selling like it's Y2K. And as you were saying that about, are you willing to look at it a different way? I think of one of our clients, Bix Bixen. He always used to say, if you haven't changed your mind lately, how do you know you still have one? So, Ari, what's the next step? How can people get in touch with you to learn more and really dig into this whole idea of trust-based selling and, learn from the number one authority?
I'd suggest that they order my new book called Trust in a Split Second. It's at thetrustbook.com. We'll mail you a copy for free. We'll put a stamp on the envelope, mail it to you in the mail. No digital, sorry. Physical in the mail envelope. You hold it in your hand. You're going to feel what it feels like. You're going to read it page by page. And when you order it on your way up, the chance to have a one-on-one chat with us as well. You can grab a calendar slot there and we can kind of diagnose your situation and figure out where the holes are. But I think that ordering the book, scheduling a time to chat would be the next step for everyone, which is thetrustbook.com.
I highly recommend that. Ari, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Appreciate it.
What if the key to getting more great clients wasn't doing more, but doing differently? Ari Galper just showed us that trust is what moves people to action. That means the real power of podcast interviews isn't a numbers game of how many people hear you. It's a quality game of how much they trust you by the end of the conversation. Now, if you took nothing else from today's episode, remember this: stop chasing, start attracting. With the right message, the right mindset, and the right podcast interview strategy, you can build that kind of trust, and you can build it at scale. Here's the action step. Audit your current sales process and be honest. Are you following up with just checking in emails to people that are ghosts? Do prospects shine you on because they don't trust you enough to say no? Remember, we're not optimizing for activity. We're optimizing for profits. And that comes from clients that trust you and value what you offer. And if you want to go deeper, please grab Ari's book, Trust in a Split Second. You can get that over at thetrustbook.com. Trust me, it's worth a spot on your desk. Because in today's noisy world, trust is the new currency. And your next podcast interview could be the conversation that changes everything.